Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Family Campfire. This week it is a great honor to have on here Sam Waters from the CWPPO, which stands for Civil War Preservation Project of Ohio. This is going to be an amazing time. Hold on, I pulled a rookie move there, but it's going to be an awesome time, an amazing dig coming up in Ohio. We need to get the word out on this and let everybody know what it's about, what we plan on doing, what's going to end up happening, where the funding can come from and is going to go on this. It's just going to all around be an amazing thing, and we have a lot of amazing history to save in this project. So, Matt, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to you and get the questions started. And anybody in the external that has any questions, feel free to type in your question in the external. We will get it asked. And okay, Matt, it's all yours.
Thanks, Utah. We got a lot of folks in the external tonight. I'll try to keep tabs on the questions, but we're going to lean on Brandon for that. Sam, it's great to chat with you tonight. I listened to some of the show last night when you were on Metal Detecting Beyond Sight and Sound with Josh Kimmel. And yeah. I want to know just if you can just kind of give us an overview of CWPPO and how it all came about for those who were not able to catch last night's show.
Okay. Well, like Utah said, the CWPPO is the Civil War Preservation Project of Ohio. And my goal is to make awareness of the Civil War action that happened in Ohio. Not a lot of people know that battles and skirmishes happened here, but we did have Morgan's Raiders come through. They caused a diversion with what was going on across the river. Our goal is to go in and recover relics from a site that they lack a story with. They don't know exactly, it's not written, what happened over here, speculations, no, it was over there. We want to go in, recover relics, and create a story. The local museum, which is the Civil War Museum, it's called the McCook House. You could probably look that up. It's a wonderful museum. They do not have any relics from this Morgan's Raiders trail at all. There were no relics that were ever turned in. So the relics that we recover are going to be the very first ones. They have nothing in there. So this will help the Historical Society get in connection with the state Historical Society that will grant them money to put up markers, battlefield sites, create park areas, you know, however they have it. That's the Historical Society's handling on that. We're just coming in to pave that way for them and to put this town and the raid back on the map. Because you hear people talk about Gettysburg and areas across the river, but there's not much online about Ohio, about what happened here. So we're going in and we're going to create this story.
That's awesome. Tell me just a little bit about Morgan's Raiders. What's the history behind that?
Oh, the Morgan's Raiders actually were ordered not to cross the river. They wanted to create a diversion to pull some of the Union forces to give the Confederates a little bit of a hand up. They ended up crossing the river anyway, and that caused an immediate pursuit. They actually traveled 1,000 miles for 46 days through Kentucky, Indiana, up through Ohio, back to, you know, they wanted to get back across the river. So over 46 days, they basically just were that. They were raiders. They stole horses when they needed horses. They burned houses. They stole goods and food, made themselves at home anywhere they wanted to. You know, they just wreaked havoc, and people feared them. So, you know, they had a lot of Union after them. They wanted to stop them, and they were stopped.
So you're organizing a large metal detecting hunt to kind of recover some of those relics, and that's going to be in October, correct?
Yes, October 23rd to the 25th, and the 24th and the 25th will be our actual dig sites. We have an itinerary on that Friday, which we'll be getting out soon. We just have to tie up a few small details, and I didn't want to send it out if it wasn't the correct thing. But yeah, that'll be the Saturday and Sunday.
So help me understand the scope of this. I mean, how many detectorists are we talking about, and how many acres of land do you have permission to hunt?
When I first showed up to this site about 4 years ago, I had 1 acre, and it was given to me by the Historical Society. That's actually where the marker is. I had no idea that it happened anywhere else. And there's a neighbor across the street, directly across the street, and I'm thinking, man, I better go tell him what I'm doing. I don't want to get in trouble. And I had the email from the president of the Historical Society saying, yes, you can do that. When I knocked on his door, he knew what I was doing, and he said, why are you over there? The battle happened in my yard. Turned out he had 70 acres behind his house that was the battlefield. And I was only there a few times behind his house. I didn't go down too far into the woods. I mean, he's a farmer, so he had things going on. When I went back to talk to them about maybe bringing some people in to cover the 70 acres, the middle of the conversation turned into 400 and I believe 60 acres that she gave us to do. And I'm like, okay, we need more than 20, 30 people. While we were out there, you know, Jeff and I, after we invited some people who invited other people who invited other people, we also acquired possibly another 60 acres on an adjoining farm. We didn't originally have that on our section. So Jeff had one, I know he's not here, but I'm going to try to explain this the best way that I can. We're going to focus on the original 400 and something acres. And our particular high-hit areas where the battles were supposed to be is around 200 to 300 acres. We have about 80 metal detectors coming in, which we also have support groups of Civil War experts. We have some team leads who also will be digging. We have volunteers coming in to help record these things, and Jeff has done a great job with the form. We want to record it as it's dug. We're not going to use flags. We don't have time for flags. We want it dug, recorded, bagged, tagged, and sent to the relic table, where it's taken on by another group of recording, which gives it a code. I mean, Jeff will have to explain a little bit better, but I believe, you know, it'll get a code, and then the museum can use that code however they want to. This also tracks the relics. Somebody can't just pull one out, and now we're missing a 5. And they can't take that and go try to sell it because it's tagged, and prove that you found it there. You know, how did you get in? You know, it saves a lot of time doing it that way, and we can track relics better.
I think it's an awesome plan, and I think it's tremendous that you folks are working with your local historical society and some of the local folks there. Have you run into any flack from people saying, oh, you shouldn't be detecting on a battlefield? Have you heard any negativity about that yet? And if so, how are you handling that?
It's only been asked once, and it was just in a nonchalantly kind of way. You know, well, this is a battlefield site, you know, how do you feel about doing that? And it was just somebody in the crew, and we were having another conversation about something else. So I decided to pin at the top of the Facebook group. If you go to pin the post, there's a very top group of how to handle that. If they know other crew members are going out onto a battlefield site and their question, the answer is in that, on the best way to answer it. We were requested by the Historical Society to cover a lot of these lands. They're excited that we're there. I mean, when I was talking to the owner who gave me those acres, she gave me Virginia Glenn's phone number, which she's a representative of the Historical Society. She is full of knowledge on this raid. She takes care of the commemorative stuff. She brings in, you know, she does celebrations. She takes care of the, you know, when they had the 150-year celebration, she had some markers put in. She's on this, and she's very excited about this. So when I talked to her, she's back to life. You know, she kind of retired from this a little bit because nobody wanted to pursue it. But here I was calling her on the phone, and it woke her back up. She's just so alive with this, and she's running with it for, you know, for funding, for anybody that would give us grants. As of right now, we don't have any funding. We don't have any grants. We're relying on our, you know, our benefits, our auctions, our donations. We're relying on that to you know, to pay lodging. So until we get that grant money, we're kind of trying to get this done. So Virginia's really hoofing it. She's excited to be a part of this. She will also be at the presentation to talk a little bit, and she may be bringing in a special guest for that, which I think is just really cool. I can't tell you who it is yet. It's exciting. You know, in case you can't make it, I don't want to get everybody excited and, you know, the special guest can't make it. It's just kind of let people down.
Understood. Totally understood. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I think, you know, myself as a detectorist, I'm a huge fan of the slogan that it's not what you find, it's what you find out. And I think y'all are going to find out a lot of things about those 400 acres. And you're probably going to narrow down some skirmish areas and some battle sites where, you know, there was some real activity. So obviously we wish you the best in all of that. But you touched a little bit on how you're funding this, and I want you to give some specifics on how people can help if they want to help fund this this hunt.
Well, I'll give you an example. Chris Quinn, who is from Ohio Dirt Fishing, he's also the At Wits End softball. I'm sorry. He's taken it upon himself, which I'm not expecting anybody to do this. He's having his own benefit because he does benefits for people in the community. So he's doing a benefit dinner and Chinese auction, which I'm not quite sure what that is, to help fund this. Danny Frame is also going to be involved in one. We're going to have one here. We're also going to show up at, actually it's the Mill Festival in Carroll County. We went there today to talk to the president, and he's a great guy, down to earth, and he invited us there to dinner, and we talked and everything. But his celebration every year is the Algonquin Mill, big history thing in Carroll County that brings in 10,000 people every year. He invited us to set up a tent on the main area there to spread the word, to bring in volunteers of the area to actually help on this, help record, you know, be a part of it, and maybe get, you know, some donations that way, or maybe like Utah had suggested, I could sketch up some Civil War art, you know, and it doesn't take long for me, and maybe sell some prints. So we're just trying every avenue that we can, and I think we're doing okay. We'll make it.
Sounds good. We've got one great question in the chat here too from First Capital Digger, who says, "Are there going to be any archaeologists on site? Maybe should any remains be found?" And they're asking this question because he's been invited to a local archaeological meeting, and they may be willing to lend a hand for this. So have you got any plans to have anyone there aside from detectorists?
Well, we have 2 GPR units being brought in. One is Frank, and I never can get his last name pronounced right. He's from DA, I believe. Frank
Lupergolo.
Yes, that's it. And then Greg Shipley's also bringing one, and Greg actually digs on historical sites and does archaeological work and helps out. I don't know his background as far as degrees and stuff, but he knows how to handle it. If we do find anything weird, like, you know, like we were talking, if we find a pile of buttons, you know, we'll scan the area with the GPR. If there's anything odd, we stop. He has a list of people that he needs to call. I don't know who those people are, but with him doing these digs in other parts of Ohio, I completely trust him. And he flagged a couple things on me. He's like, wait, we have to look at this, we have to look at this. And he did some research, and when he got back to me, he says, I can't believe this. I had no idea this happened in Ohio, and I've been digging here for years. He says, this is the biggest battle area in Ohio I've ever been on. You know, we had thousands of Union and 384 Confederate shooting at each other all over the place. Actually, there's accounts of them in a line, like you see on TV, shooting directly at each other. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff. History shows that 20 to 30 Confederates did die on this property. Some people have speculation of, yeah, they were just thrown in a hole, and nobody wants to carry them across the river because they were being captured, you know. There were talks from the landowner that she heard from her grandfather that there were 2 Confederate soldiers possibly buried there. We are not going to disturb that. We are there to find metallic objects, and we have backup with the GPR in case anything seems weird. You know, if we do find anything odd, we've got it covered.
Sounds like you got it all figured out. I've got one last thing, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Utah. Sam, I know you found a pretty neat artifact down that way,
Yeah.
I'm hoping you have it with you here tonight, but I know you found a very special ring.
Yeah. I've held on to that ring for 4 years because I kept being drawn back to this place, and I didn't want to just present one thing to the Historical Society. I didn't know how to do it. I wanted to just go back and find more things. And I held on to that because I knew one day I would, and now it's time. This ring I had with the group here in New Philadelphia, the Artifacts of America. I'm sorry, they actually shut down. That's why I couldn't think of the name right off the top of my head. They had the ring for about 3 months. They did authenticate it that it was a Civil War bullet, and there were rubies embedded in the top of this ring. This was a ring made in the trenches or on the travels somewhere along the line, and we found it. I found it out there, and that was a personal item. The last person that touched that was a soldier, you know, and it's just a really great thing to be able to find that. We actually presented that to the county commissioners today. They were all very astounded. They loved it. They all held it. They all looked at it. They all had questions about it. I mean, they're on board. It's just a great thing, and this was just one really cool item on 1 acre.
Can you show us the ring real quick?
I can try to hold it up onto the screen with a backdrop.
Yeah, that works pretty well.
Okay, I'll get some yellow here. This is probably the brightest thing that I can do. All right.
Now this is a lead ring, right? Made out of a bullet?
This is lead, yeah. It's I don't know what kind of bullet, but it's definitely, you know, it could be 2-ringer, 3-ringer. I'm not sure. I'm not real good with relic identification. But you'll see how it's flat on that one spot. I'm trying to get it to, oh, if this is hard to do. It's like a flat spot. That flat spot, you can actually see how the ring had actually melted. And we're thinking heat from the weather. You know, it was in July. Temperature is 90, 100 degrees, and lead melts and forms in the heat. This bottom flat spot, we were figuring if you wear that on your trigger finger, that would make a flat spot. It's also bowed. I'm going to try to get, I'm so sorry. I'm going to try to get in here. It's also angled on one side, which could have been leaned against the stock or the barrel of the gun. In the top, there are small lines. I don't know if you can see those lines on there.
They're showing up.
Okay, those lines are filled with embedded crushed rubies. It's just gorgeous. It's truly an amazing piece to find out there. They were completely amazed.
That is incredible. Utah, I'm going to turn it back over to you, buddy. Take yourself off mute and take it on down to the next person. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay. Before I hand it over to Josh to ask some questions, in case he didn't ask them all last night on that awesome Beyond Sight and Sound show they had. That was an amazing show, by the way, Josh. I loved it. I was hoping it could have went on for another hour or two. But before I hand it over to Josh, there was a question in the audience, or in the external staff can go up to it. I kind of roughly answered it from what I knew from the leaders chat on this hunt earlier, but Earl from VA wants to know, are finds going to be logged and flagged or recorded on GPS? Curious since they're going to be the first field recovery for actual artifacts.
Yeah, Jeff would be the best one to answer that, but remember our discussions, and correct me if I'm wrong, Utah, the GPS coordinates, we have this map scaled down to either 10 or 20 feet. I'm trying to remember how Jeff explained this. The maps that we recorded on are in sections. There are 6 sections, and each one of those sections are also narrowed down and blown up. So when you're recording this, you can actually track that part of it. Okay, it was here. We can do a location and do a GPS that way. But a lot of service is lost out there. I mean, we were thinking you could take your phone, say, okay, GPS is right here. And it may work in this area, but it may not work a mile up the yard. You know, it may not work there. So it's kind of up in the air with Jeff on the GPS, but he figures, you know, we're going to get a pretty close, you know, we're going to get a pretty good idea of how close these are, whether it's within a foot or a couple of inches. When you look at the whole scale, we're still going to get a pretty good battlefield site. You know, how people were standing, where they were. Does that kind of go along with what Jeff had said earlier?
What I understand, the way he has it broken down, we're going to basically know exactly what digger is in what section and what area of that section and what part of that area whenever they mark it on their find sheet. Whenever they make a find, they'll have a sheet with them. They'll mark it what part of their area they're in, they'll mark it. Then we can go back and we'll say, okay, well, he was in this area of this section on this plot. So basically it'll narrow it down to within probably 10 to 20 foot of where he was, which is all that a GPS unit will do anyway. So there's really no need for the GPS and the expense of having all those linked GPSs when the overall data is going to be there within the same hit or miss area as a GPS would anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I understood. I mean, it's broken down. It's all, you know, it isn't going to be like a regular club hunt from what I understand. It is going to be an actual, it is an actual organized thing. It's not like you're going out to your regular digging club and doing a field hunt. You know,
This is for the Historical Society. This is to benefit the town, put their story together, and create an open door, so to say, for the Historical Society. I mean, they're really on board with it, and so are the landowners. They're so welcoming. And we've already acquired more land for next year. I do continue to keep the CWPPO rolling for as long as it takes and for as much as the trail that we have access to. It's going to continue.
Josh, were you ready to throw some questions in there?
Sure, why not? I think we had quite a number of questions covered last night and some great information, and thanks for the compliment on the show last night, Utah. There was quite a fair amount of information covered. To add, though, to what you were just talking about, I think, people may be a little confused. This isn't just running in, just shooting fish in a barrel or whatever. We are trying to come at this with an organized, documentative approach to this. And it may seem a little hard to understand for some people at times because of the technological age that we are in, but there are still some areas that you just can't get a good enough signal for GPS or cell phone coverage.
Right.
Now, you were saying when you first started out on this site, you had an acre, and now this has just ballooned into all this extra land. It's entirely too much area for one person to try and cover. You could hunt this area for the rest of your life daily, and you're still not going to cover it all and find everything.
You're right.
So that's great that you've brought in the extra people and stuff like that. Now, have you noticed, though, because you're working on other projects in other areas with other people, and when you post some of these finds that you have found, have you noticed any negative feedback? Somebody thinks that maybe you're just running around on this particular project site in Ohio. Why are you trying to recover this if you have people coming in to help?
Absolutely.
Anything like that?
That was brought up, and I guess that I didn't have that click in my mind because I'm from the area. To me, just being from this area is common knowledge. But from the outside, you know, I'm out there with Eddie Smith and Joe Toth and Bill Marsh and Rusty Fawcett. That property that we're recovering things for is 2 counties away from the site that we have permission to dig on. It was part of the trail. It's part of the raid. You know, we're collecting things down there in Guernsey County for the Historical Society in the town of Old Washington. And then up here, we're in Carroll County. We're 2 counties away. We're clear up in the northeastern corner. They are related only because the same guys came through. We are not gathering items from the site we are at. When I first started contacting people, I've stopped. I stopped, went out there. You know, I've only found 2 things out there. One was in the 1 acre, and the horse bitch, or whatever this piece is from, which we're going to have checked out. It's part of a horse bridle strap or something. That was found directly behind the Sharps' new house. I didn't go much farther beyond that. Like I said, because they farm, they have dogs, you know, they have a pond in the back, and they're busy people. And even though they said, come back anytime you want, even if we're not home, have at it, they're excited to see what we find out. They're very excited.
And what sort of measures have you taken to protect the site, say, both before, during, and after this project? Because obviously this is something that, even though you've got these people coming in, you're going to continue to look at this area, because the more data that can be recovered or acquired, the better it's going to be in the long run.
There will be a dig site permit. I plan on going out there tomorrow, if not Saturday, to meet with the landowners and have them sign a dig permit that I can make copies. If on their property that claim they're with my crew, they have to have that dig permit. If they don't have it, they're gone. That's the same as when we're out there that weekend. You have to carry one. Even though you might be wearing one of our shirts, you got to carry a dig permit to cover us. And any time after that, nobody can come in, because that dig permit for our crew is only good for 2 days. They're well aware of people that want to come in on their property. They watch for people, because, you know, it's a historical area. Even if I do say, yeah, the battle happened in Salineville, everybody can type in that battle of Salineville and know where it is. We can't hide that. I mean, when you say Carroll County, people know. People can look it up. And even the town knew right away where we were going. They're famous for it. That area is famous for it. They've been waiting for years for somebody to come up and do this. They had something planned a year or 2 ago, you know, that they just didn't get this far. They started off in Bergholz and Nebo, which is part of this trail, and by the time they got to our area, they gave up. I don't know if they just got tired. I don't know if they ran out of funding, but she gave up as well. And when I got a hold of her, I lit a spark in her that we all have for passion. She is so excited. It's just overwhelmingly great.
Well, that's great to hear, and it is. It's like a second chance to try to continue to bring this history to light. Have you had anybody kind of question the fact of, well, gee, you know, this was 46 days. How in the world did they cover just over 1,000 miles? That's almost a staggering figure when you stop and look at it in that time period.
Right. And you think about all the factors: the weather, the terrain, the extent of how the horses were. What they did is, some of the crew that Morgan brought here were just 16 and 17-year-old boys dressed in regular clothes. They were used to steal horses to keep their horses fresh and ready to run. They were always on the run. I mean, they did stop in certain towns, but they were being pursued. So they always switched out their horses and always stayed 2 steps ahead of the Union forces. They just kept booking. They kept moving. They would go into a town, loot it, burn down houses, and go to the next town. They would steal what they could.
And by switching out those horses like that, that's how they were able to stay so far ahead of them for the longest time that way.
Right.
If I remember right, I think I had even seen some mention in spots where his raiders spent as long as sometimes 20 hours a day in the saddle to make sure. That's how they were covering this much land. But ultimately, the intent was to be disruptive. I mean, they disrupted rail lines, they burnt bridges, they burnt houses, they looted. So really, it's hard telling what you're going to find in this area. I mean, even it's really going to be hard to separate what is what in a sense, because when they were raiding, they were taking all sorts of stuff just as like souvenirs to take home to family or something. So even a hairbrush or something may tie to it. We don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't know. And because they knew they were going to be captured here, and anything that they had on them, they could have stashed out here. They could have hid it. They could have, just to not have it to be caught. They don't want to be caught with it. They wanted to hide it. They knew they were going to be caught, but they did escape 8 miles north. I believe it was north. Again, so the extent of what could be out here, as far as from hairbrushes to buckets and pails and cups and spoons, anything that they used, because they were always moving, they needed that stuff with them all the time. So they're not going to stop and pick up their stuff. They're going to get moving.
And we do have people who are very experienced in the terms of Civil War relic identification coming in. That way they can look at some of these items, say one horseshoe as opposed to another. Maybe one is period, maybe one is not, correct?
Right. And up on the hill part of this, I believe Virginia had said that they had done some reenactments, and that was a concern from the commissioners. How are you going to know if that's common or if that's from the Civil War? And I expressed it, I made it clear that each section is going to have its own Civil War expert, and they can always talk amongst themselves if we have a question on what something is or how old something is. If we're finding something that's from this time period from a reenactment, we're going to know right away. So they were excited to hear that, because people have taken things in that, from other areas that they thought was from it, but it was all just reenactment stuff.
Right. And in terms of the finds, these are all, bag tagged, documented. Have people asked or expressed concern, well, what happens if, say, I don't know, for example, somebody finds an 1877 seated dime?
Right. Everything, and I want people to listen, everything that we find needs recorded and tagged and put into a bag. The reason for that is these trails, if it's 1877, that it's after the Civil War, we don't care. We have to keep a standard of tagging and recording and sending these relics to the central location. When the Historical Society sits down with us, they're going to decide, okay, this is Civil War related, this large cent or this flying eagle, we can't tie that, because there were homes out here all over the place during that time. It could have been dropped by someone that lived there. Anything that we cannot tie to it, we're going to let the Historical Society decide this. So I'm not answering this yes or no. This will be up to the Historical Society, because any relics recovered here are theirs. if they decide we have too many bullets, we have these coins don't mean anything. This buckle wasn't period from the Civil War. She's going to decide what she can use in the museum, because space is limited in the museum. And then those can be returned back to the finder. And the finder is tracked by that form that Jeff had created. So we need to make sure everything is marked and recorded and bagged.
And I'm sure that obviously in the perspective of the museum, naturally they're going to want the finest looking pieces for displays, but that does not necessarily mean that they may not want something else, or
Right.
may want to include something else in that display. So really when it comes down to duplicate items or something like that, really that's something where we've got to wait and see what the Historical Society themselves determine or deem worth having in the display.
Right, and that's going to be up to Shirley, who runs the museum, as well as Virginia Glenn, who represents the Historical Society. And her, those two with myself and Jeff and whoever's able to stick around after the dig, we'll be going through these things. We'll be recording and looking, and that's going to be their decision.
And with the fundraisers that have been going on, obviously these are going on to try to help offset lodging, food, shirts, stuff like that. But maybe you'd like to take a minute and explain that this the CWPPO itself, this project doesn't just stop that last day in October.
It will not. This will continue. We've already been given other permissions around these areas, and next year it will be open to anybody that would like to come down and be a part of it. Things will be done a little differently than how it's been going now, and I'll elaborate on that at a later time. But I do still want people involved, and like you said, Josh, it's such a large area. I want people to be able to come and help create this into something a lot greater than what it is now. I mean, there's a lot of missing history.
Right.
We got to keep the funding open. There were talks today with the president of the Historical Society of Carroll County, who we may be going into a partnership with on this project under the CWPPO. Nothing's stated, nothing's written, nothing. It was just a few talks, and that would be amazing to have happen. To be able to work next to the Historical Society and have, the crew be part of the town, and then you've got, the leaders that they're all going to be connected somehow. And they said, find yourself a treasurer right now. Find somebody to take care of this. Find somebody to take care of that. He said, because you have a large project. Not saying that you can't do it, but you need to have people help you. And as far as the funding tracking, I'm having Utah Nichols actually grab onto that. When things come in, I will let him know. That way, if there are any funding questions or lodging questions or anything like that, please refer to Utah. I have other things that I have going on that it's hard for me to answer every message. I do keep updates on the Facebook page. If you have a question, go on the Facebook page and put your question in. If I write a post and you see a notification on your phone or your computer, take the time to read it. It's probably important information you're going to want to know. Because 2 hours later, it might be bumped clear down the screen and you're going to be lost. You're not going to know what's going on. So Utah will be handling that. I also have Chris up here in Ohio, which is Chris Quinn from Atwitz and Softball and Ohio Dirt Fishing. He's going to handle the benefits that we're having up here so that he can track that, and we'll both report back to Utah. So currently, that system needs to work right now because there's so many other things that I myself need to work on. Jeff needs to work on some things. We've got Virginia on some things. I just can't handle all of these aspects because they've gotten so big.
Right. I had made the reference last night on the show. You you can't come at a battleship with a bottle of nail polish and expect to get the thing painted. You know,
Yeah.
it takes time. You have to have a plan in place. You have to have support. You know, people who are helping, and there really is a lot in play right now as far as logistics and people working behind the scenes, assisting to try and make this all happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I think it's really great what you're doing. I think it's definitely a great cause, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to see a lot of nice things come from this, not to mention potential future opportunities that could open doors to for projects in the future.
Absolutely.
Other than that, Utah, back to you.
All right, thanks, Josh. Excellent questions again. I loved it. It's like a recap from last night as well as more added to it. I love that. Frank, I'm going to go ahead and hand over to you after I get one question out there to Sam. Again, I kind of answered it in what I knew about it, but Rip's Relics wants to know that if there are any items that are recovered that are not battle related, that have people's names on them, is any effort going to be taken to find a present day family members to return those items to them? We kind of covered this in saying that everything was in the Historical Society's control, but I wanted you to elaborate if you could.
We only briefly talked about that with Virginia because she lives in Burgoltz, which is over an hour and a half away, and she just got back from the county fair because they show horses. Her time was kind of limited to get together to talk about the small details like that. We did kind of briefly discuss, wouldn't it be neat to, you know, find the hairbrush or something metal that had a name and be able to find that family. That was brought up in a question during our discussion when Jeff and I met her. There was nothing written or stated, yeah, we're going to handle it this way, because that's almost stage 5 of this project. Right now we're in 3, and we have to focus on 3 and get that done before we can go to 4. Now, for that particular question, we can find out if they want to know now. Personally, what I would do, I would love to find the family. And I would push Virginia to do the same. If that item came from even another county, another state, I mean, even if we found it right there, those people have lived there for generations. I think it would be pretty awesome to return that to a family member.
Yeah, it would. But then again, turning over everything we find to the Historical Society, it's really out of our hands. Once we turn it over to them, it's up to them to do with what they deem necessary.
You're right.
All we can do is give them our input and our personal opinions, and hope that they take it. But anyway, with that, Frank, I'm going to hand over to you and let you ask some questions, and then we'll see if there's anything else from the audience.
Thank you, Utah. Hey, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Sam, you know, I'm part of this dig, and you know, it's a huge honor to help you and your cause. I really believe in it. We haven't talked that much. We've talked some, but I have a lot of experience with historical societies. A lot of people shy away from them, and give me your perspective when you first approached them, because I know when I first approached my historical society, they thought this guy is just trying to find whatever he can and use us as, you know, a venue to get onto sites. And there's always that apprehension of, you know, can we trust this person? Can we not? So what is it that you had to do to turn the tide for that historical society to gain your trust?
Well, it was a simple email to the president of the Historical Society 4 years ago when I began it. It was And absolutely, yes, you can do it. That's fine. I agree with you going on there for that 1 acre. This is where you can go. This is where you can't. When I was put in touch with Virginia Glen, the only thing that Mrs. Lindner, who lives there, told me was, this is Virginia Glen. Here's her phone number. She knows a lot about the Morgan's Raid in the area. So I actually called her, and I had no idea that she was in this so much with the Historical Society. It took off from there. She came to us with all the information. She invited Jeff and I out to speak with her. We met with her. We were there for several hours. She had information and books and everything that she had put together. She makes her own dresses for these events and functions. She just loves this. So we got lucky. I mean, we got lucky with a town that it's embracing this Civil War history.
That's awesome. See, and that's, you know, it took me a little while. And that's great that they were really perceptive to, you know, what you were trying to do for them. And I think that speaks volumes, because once people realize that you're really there not to, you know, find something that's worth something, you really want to help the community. And once they see that honesty, once they understand, they just know. And it's just
right.
Doors open up and more doors open up, and it just keeps kind of going.
Yeah, that's what makes this big the diggest. They're the dig the biggest, because this is where we're being watched the most. They want to see how we do. They want to learn the crew. They want to trust us. They want to track everything we're doing to earn that trust.
Mm-hmm.
Next time it'll be a little bit easier. That's why I need everybody on this crew to be on board with this. We don't want friction. We don't want fires starting in the background. If there's any questions, contact myself, Mr. Utah, or Josh. I mean, there are answers if we have them. But and I'm going to be blunt, the grade school bullcrap that can accumulate in the background cannot happen. Because I want to come in here with all of the good intentions of every crew member. We want teamwork. We want people bringing in, not feeling they're better than anybody else, or my YouTube channel has this many subscribers and you only have this. All of that crap is left at the door. You're coming in as a team, just like these Raiders were on that field. They had differences too, but they all had a goal, and we have a goal, and we're going to stick to it. Because
yeah.
I still have, let me finish, I need to get this out. I still have people that want to be a part of this dig, but we're capped out. I will remove anyone that has any, you know, problems or fire starters or anything with people that want to be here. You know, we need to have a good image. This is going to be across the nation. Magazines, newspapers, radio, even in England. We gotta represent this hobby in a positive way.
Oh, I completely agree with that, and that was the biggest draw for me. The biggest draw for me when I was first offered to be a part of this was helping the community create a marker to put that to figure out where this site was, and you know, it's not about what you find. And I'm sure you're going to agree. I think, honestly, if you're given a section of one of these parcels and you find nothing, it's just as important as what you do find in another section, because you're saying where they aren't. You're
right.
basically following, you know, a trail. You're following, like how they found the Titanic. You followed the trail, and you know, okay, and it narrows the field down. So maybe next year or whatever, now you know where you shouldn't hunt. Now you know where you can hunt, because the artifacts aren't over there. They're over here. They're centered here, and maybe we can go a little harder, a little bit more intense on that.
Yeah. I think the way that Jeff had done some research and he did some talking to people, we have a majority of them that know that there was a skirmish and a battle area on the immediate area where we're going to be. And he wants to place people in sections on those immediate areas. That's where we're going to hit it the hardest right away. We're going to find things right away in these actual battle sites. There are 2 on the property. So we're going to try to focus on these one at a time, move in. If you're not finding anything over there and we have a lot over here, bring in this part of the crew. Jeff is really smart at doing this, and he has full reins. If he says we want 4 teams in this section, we got to give him 4 teams. I'm not completely done with the team groups yet. We have to get a few more things finalized, so please be patient. We are working on that, and we're trying to keep crews together, groups together. You know, you travel together. You know, it'd be nice if you guys could pal around and have that together on the crew. We're going to do our best to do that. We need 10, you know, anywhere from 8 to 10 person in each section, maybe 4 of these groups in one section. It just depends on how Jeff wants to place them with the information he has.
You know, I love the idea. I love the cause because it's going to give this community their mark. Their ancestors, in this community obviously were a part of this. And you know, I can't imagine any other dig ever that would be so significant to a piece of history, because the more I research this, the more I see how significant this one man and his raiders were for the Confederates, and how, you know, how brazen he was. So there's that mystique, you know, and it really is going to be something I really am going to be proud of, to help this community so they can have a marker, so they can say this did happen here. You know, this isn't rumor. We found relics. You know, and when you talk about team, it really it has to be. It has to be team. It has to be, you know, everyone working together for the same goal. And really, the same goal is we've been given an enormous permission, and the goal is, let's use that permission to the best of our ability in a couple of days, where we can give this community their heritage. You know, and that's, for me, that's the hugest draw, because I'm all about that. You know, I think how you're doing it is done very well.
Thank you.
You know, you have my complete support with it. A lot of people have asked you questions that I kind of want to ask you. They've already been answered.
Okay.
I got one from the chat.
I do have one quick one.
Okay.
I know you want to carry this on every year.
Right.
And I know there's this question of you have a GoFundMe account, and you know, and what's that for, and all that stuff. My initial thought was the GoFundMe account is whatever happens, whatever is used, you know, it's used for whatever. But if there's anything left over, it carries over for the next year and the next organized dig to keep going with this project. This is an important, Sam. This is a very important project that I'm telling you, you have my envy on this, because this really is an important project. Now that I've learned more about this, you know, the Morgan's Raiders, it really is. It's a story to be told.
Right.
And so I guess I'm going to ask you, is that really what your goal is? Let's keep this going every year. Let's try to, you know, if there's money left over, we're going to carry it over the next year.
We're going to roll it over. And anyone can go into the GoFundMe account. They can donate at any time. They can check the funds, you know, whatever their little heart desires, whatever they want to do. With that GoFundMe, it was set up for companies that may be in other states. It would be advertised across the nation. You know, you got a lot of people in every state that the Civil War affected. I mean, you have a relative of a relative, or you know some. I mean, it affected everybody, and you have, you know, people that want to help out. But I'm in California. What can I do? You can donate to the fund. We're trying to think of other things that would help the GoFundMe. If you donate so much money, you get one of the shirts. If you donate this much money, we'll throw in a commemorative coin. There's going to be things for them too, not just a good feeling that, hey, I did this. But not only that, now our name is on a shirt in California. This goes both ways, and it's going to go north, it's going to go south, and it's already went to England. I mean, this is going to be big. This is going to be great. And to shut this down after this dig is not going to happen. We got to keep moving. We have properties lined up that's going to keep us busy for the next couple of years. We have, and that's just in Carroll County, Jefferson County, and Columbiana. There were no battles or skirmishes in Columbiana, but a lot of history when they passed through there, and things that happened in Lisbon where they were preparing, and that was the National Road. I mean, we had found the Union officer button in a yard there. I mean, when Chris and I were up there, we were finding things back from that era. We can link that somehow. And of course, those would go to Columbiana County, or the Columbiana County. And then in Jefferson, there's an area right where Jefferson County, Columbiana County, and Carroll County meet, where the West Grove Cemetery is. Now, not going into the cemetery, but the area around the cemetery is where they found 2 weapons, 2 rifles that were left behind by the Confederates. They were found in the field, or in the in the trees. So there's stuff there too. This is so immense, but we have to go at it one section at a time with as much force and knowledge and experience that we have. You know, we got to take our time and let this funding build over the winter into the spring, you know, and have it ready for the next crew. So we don't have to go through this lodging stuff and transportation stuff, and that I want to pull my hair out, and I know to do this differently next time.
Right.
So it's going to continue, and it's going to build, and we're going to get out there. We're going to be on radio. We're going to be in the paper. I mean, everybody in this dig is going to go home, and they're going to be sent some newspapers with that story. They can even do their own story in their own state about how they helped up here in the Civil War. Anything is possible.
I'm gonna leave you at this and concede to Tar Heel. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, Sam. Once you saw that the amount of property you have and the significance of this property, and you said, you know, this is much bigger than me. I need more people to help. And I'm gonna tell you, most people would say, I've got the honey hole. I can hunt this forever. And keep it to themselves. You chose to open it up to a lot of people because you really cared about the history and helping this community and trying to rewrite history, trying to create history and let a story be told. And I'll tell you, you deserve a lot of respect for that.
Thank you.
A lot of respect for that. You have my respect for that, because most people would not do what you just did. So I need to say that, and I need that whoever's going to be watching this, they need to really understand, and people know, you find a honey hole, you don't give it up. So, thank you. I'm proud to be part of it. I really am. And with that,
thank you very much.
I will concede to Tar Heel.
To Tar Heel?
If he's not here, I can see the problem. I think he had a question.
Yeah, Tar Heel went first. I do want to throw this out there real quick, Frank. I don't know if you realized it or not, but you just sold off half of your belongings in your garage behind you.
Yeah, I saw that. I'll tell you, Dish keeps wanting to buy this pumpkin. My wife will beat her butt. There's no way she's buying this pumpkin. But we did get it. If she wants to buy the pumpkin, we did buy it in Ohio. So I can tell her where she can get one.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I think Tar Heel went first. I'm going to pass it over to Swansea and let him get some questions asked. I think he's the last one before me. So, Brandon, are you ready to ask some questions?
I am.
Okay, it's all yours.
Well, Sam, I had one from the external chat actually from First Capital, and I know Utah gave them the go-ahead. They just really wanted permission to be able to place the GoFundMe account maybe in their YouTube videos.
Absolutely. The CWPPO logo type lettering is uppercase, but for some reason on the GoFundMe account, you have to enter that all lowercase. The CWPPO needs to be lowercase. But yes, please do. Please do. How about, you know, as much as you can for the crew? I mean, I wanted the funding to cut costs so that nobody has to fork out a bunch of money to come here. You know, that's not my goal. My goal is to save history with a hell of a crew, you know, and do as much as we can. So yes, please do share it.
The other question I had was Frank had touched upon it a little while ago about the assigned areas and crews. Do you have any idea how you're doing that? Is it grouped with the people from where they're coming from maybe, or people that are more familiar with that type of digging or anything like that, or is it kind of a random?
Well, a few were random. We know that they have really good leadership skills that you know we've kind of seen, but for the most part, it's knowledge on Civil War relics. The lead, you know, teams. We're going to have the teams with 2 team leads, and each one of the team leads have been in conversations with Utah and Jeff Fisher and myself and the other team leads, how we're going to manage this the best way. And we wanted people with the Civil War knowledge of identification, so they're right there on the field. We're trying to keep, you know, certain groups or teams together that are traveling here together. We would like to scatter them if they prefer to be with their team. That's fine. The guys they came in with or the girls they came in with, or maybe they want to hop over to somewhere else. Which, you know, if they want to be over here, that's fine. But while you're in a section and you're digging that section, we can't leave that section without a lead guy knowing, and myself, so that we can record everything that happens. We can't just say, okay, I'm in B2, I feel like I want to go right across here into C2 and dig and talk with my friend over here. We can't do that in this type of thing. We have to keep the best organization that we can. So that's why I'm kind of having a hard time getting the groups together perfectly. We want to make everybody comfortable and happy with, you know, I traveled with this guy, I wanna dig with this guy. That's fine. So we're trying to reach out to see, you know, who would feel good where, and so far I have the team leads listed. It's just a matter of dropping the crew in the best way, because they had preferences of terrain. We have to look at that too. We have a lot of fields. We have an area that's mainly woods. We do have some water in the back. Some people prefer flat areas. One person in particular said, I don't want to be around the water, and so we have to keep them away. So it's kind of a different collection of information to try to group these guys the best way that we can.
Another question I had from you too was, I don't think you really touched on this in this chat tonight. I know you did a little bit last night. Who basically is coming? These aren't just Ohio guys. They're not specifically to your area. Oh, where is the spectrum of people?
They're all over. I mean, as far as oh goodness, you know, I'd have to actually check where everybody's coming from, but obviously we have Texas, lots from New Hampshire. Is there the one coming from South Carolina? I can't remember. Okay, they're just all over. I mean, everybody that, you know, it's just all over. It's hard to explain. We also have Mr. Cravenet coming from England. He's doing a story for the Searcher magazine on our dig. This is going to go pretty much worldwide now, because he's taking that back and he's going to represent, you know, us up there and the Searcher here. So
yeah, that's amazing to have Danny coming over to do that.
Absolutely, I'm ecstatic. I think it's great, and I'm hoping to get some copies of this magazine so that we can kind of, you know, I'd love to have a copy for everybody, but I'm not sure how we can do that. But they're coming from all over, and I haven't had a chance to actually sit and do a roster. That's in probably stage 4 of the project, which we're in 3, so that's definitely on the list. And if you guys are wanting information that we're just not there yet, I'm not holding information from you, we're just not there yet. You're right along with us, shoulder to shoulder on this. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing I'm trying to keep from people. Everything I know, you guys are going to know.
Just real quick, too, some of the other states that people are coming from, just off the top of my head, would be Michigan, Missouri, Mississippi, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. So they are coming from a number of different states to help and participate in this.
Right.
And I can throw in a couple more of Missouri and Wisconsin.
And Oregon, yeah, Oregon. You know, yeah, you said Pennsylvania, okay. But yeah, there's also a lot of Buckeyes, a lot of guys from Ohio and girls. We got Angela McLean and Jen Johnson, and several from Ohio that are coming. So it's you know, countrywide. It's going to reach a lot of homes and a lot of hearts with this project. Because we have passion for it, you know, that's what people are going to see. They're going to see we're trying to do good. We're metal detectorists, and this hobby is a good thing if you use it right. If you've got your heart in the right place, it's good to be able to represent that.
Well, once again, I think it's great what you've got going on, and I think we've got a great crew assembled. Utah, thanks again for the opportunity. I've got to step out, everybody, so everyone have a good night, and thanks to those who did drop by.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Have a good night.
Talk later.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in, Josh, and for helping out with it. Thanks again for the great shout-outs on Beyond Sight and Sound last night. If anybody hasn't checked out Metal Detecting Beyond Sight and Sound on 1000 Mics, you need to do so because you are really missing an awesome show.
Yeah.
I know last night was just epic. I literally could have listened to that all night. So thanks, Josh, for coming in. And
too kind, thank you. But I had some great guests to work with last night, so me and Kenny didn't have to do much.
Well, take care, Josh. All right, back to you,
brother.
Yeah.
Swansea, it's still yours, man.
No, that's pretty much the rest of what I had. You guys pretty much killed the questions.
I have one quick question, and I know I asked you this before, but I think people might need to know this, Sam.
Okay.
A finished video of the dig. Will people have access of, you know, can you explain how you want to coordinate that?
As far as other people videoing or me providing?
You know, everyone's going to be doing their own little videos and things like that.
Oh,
but
okay.
I know you want to do a finished video of the dig where it's more professionally done and try to capture bits and moments and things like that.
Yeah.
You
kind
know,
of like a bit of a documentary type thing.
Yes.
I have a couple people that may be coming in to try to put a documentary together for us. If that documentary is, you know, sellable, that will help the Historical Society as well as our fund. And that could be, you know, one of our goals as well. That will spread the message further than any newspaper or any radio broadcast. This is something that can be played over and over and over. As far as video from other people, it's okay for them to post, you know, whatever they like. Nobody owns this. They're free to put anything on YouTube. We just ask that photos of the homes are not advertised, street names and things like that, to protect, you know, the land after we're gone, as well as the property, you know, the owners, the property owners. And recording while you're there is fine. The biggest thing is we don't want any of the relics revealed until we are done with this project. We don't want that to be teasers for people to make them want to come in behind, you know, if we're at lodging, somebody's sneaking in the back. we just have to be careful. I don't want anything advertised until this dig is over, as far as relic-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I do.
Makes sense.
Huh?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I just want I want people to know, because I know, we're hyping this up, getting people involved, getting them excited about it, and you know how YouTube is. Everyone wants to see the YouTube video. They want to see, and there's going to be so many people out here doing this.
Right.
Everyone's going to be recording their own little bit, whatever. So I think it's good for them to understand if you don't see anything for a while, it's not because of this reason.
Right.
Because you still have to protect the property. You still have to protect the owners.
We had somebody that wanted to come in and do the video professionally, but he wanted paid. And even if it's $1, I can't do that, because once somebody comes in, they own all the video that's recorded there, and then no one can post anything. This is open. I want people to experience it and share it and get the word out there. So I left that to either you come in and donate your time, we'll get funding from that after you're done, or you just don't show up. I want these guys to come down and be able to tell the world what they did here, to share it.
Yeah, I can't wait to be able to share my experience, but I understand what you want, what you're trying to do, and I think everyone needs to understand, that there's a reason behind, what they say, your method of madness, there's a reason behind that, it's to protect the site, it's to protect, the homeowners, it's to protect, the historical society and what they're doing, because really for them, once everything is revealed, that's going to be, the pinnacle part of it. You don't want to do spoilers,
Right. At the closing on Sunday, we're going to give the Historical Society and any town members that would love to hear our results, we're going to give them a presentation of our findings. What we found out about the map, what we found out about this certain area, and just, it probably won't be all of the information. It'll be a follow-up, because there's still a lot of research to do once these relics come out. Because we can't just say, okay, this was over here, so this is exactly what happened. We still need to go through these and give our time to do this right.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam, you had a question from Danny in the outside chat, Mr. Cravenay, asking about maybe contacting National Geographic or Discovery and have it written in the contract, basically, that they couldn't own the rights to it, but if they wanted to cover it, that might be an option, I guess, is what he was saying.
Yeah, and I personally don't know how to get a hold of either of them two. I would love that. I would love to have National Geographic and come in and do a documentary that would be shown on television. What better way, what better way to get the word out on what we're doing here, to share that with people? I would love that. I'm just not sure how to go about doing that. I mean, History Channel, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, any of those documentary type places would be great. And if anyone has any contacts or anything to have someone come here with a crew, and I know A&E Network is based in New York. They're not far away. We're actually pretty close to the Pennsylvania border. I mean, they're not very far away to travel here and donate, their time to create this. I mean, I would love that, but I'm focused on a lot of things that's right in front of me. So if anybody has any access or knows anybody, please do and let me know. Follow up with me.
Also, Rip's Relics from the chat, Tim Rippin, has said, what are you looking for in a sponsor?
The biggest thing right now is we need funding to cover this lodging. A lot of people are, donating things such as metal detectors, digging gloves, digging tools, anything history, anything kind of fun that people would like to put in a raffle. That we're going to have boxes of raffles. We're going to do some 50-50, some door prizes. Dr. John Monero had sent me some things from his chiropractic office. Even though he can't be there, he sent stuff for us. And that's the biggest thing. We need funding. We need money to pay this, this part of this lodging off. That's our goal. I did talk with the county commissioners today, and it turns out they own this lodge. So they're going to try to work it to where we get even lower costs. And I don't have numbers. I have no idea. They're going to get back with me and see if they can even get more of a reduced cost price. So hang on there, bear with me, and let me do my magic here. Okay, just sit back, relax, just pack for the next 2 months. Okay, just trust me. If there's no trust here, there's no reason for you to be on the crew. Okay. I want to be able to have an open communication with you guys. Questions, call me. Text, email. I might not get it right away, but I'm here, okay?
If questions are funding related, please send them to me and not to Sam, though. She needs to have as much off of her plate as we can get.
Right, right.
Tim just said in the external chat who asked that question, would a case of AA batteries help?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow, how many batteries do we go through on the field that we could donate that? Yes.
And 9-volt if it's possible, because we're going to have
That's true.
pinpointers in action too.
As well as some whites metal detectors use 9 volts as well. Absolutely. Anything you want to give for auctions, door prizes, anything like that, we're open for that. Thank you.
I do want to throw it out there. I don't know are you prepared to give the name of the amazing place that is providing the lodging for our crew members?
Or am I prepared to do what?
To give the name of the amazing place that we're going to be lodging at as a crew?
The place we're staying?
Yes.
I've been listing that since day one. It's the Atwood Lodge and Resort. Some people, if you would like to camp, there's camping there. It's not owned by Atwood Lodge. It's actually Atwood Camping, and you have to contact them yourself because they don't handle that part of it. And they're located, their address is actually Mineral City, and Atwood Lodge is Sherrottsville. But it's the same area. There's just, you know, a town line there. And it's 10 minutes from the lodge. It's a mile across the lake. If you want to camp, you're more than welcome to.
And from everything I've seen about Atwood Lodge, that is an amazing place.
Yeah.
It is going to be an awesome time. And they have done some great stuff for the group and the crew as far as the rates already.
Yeah.
However, them giving special rates, there are still charges incurred for lodging, of course. And as of right now, only about 1/20th of that has been covered. So,
yeah,
everybody, if you can help with funding, please do. If you cannot personally help with funding, share the GoFundMe. Put it out there on your videos. Get it out to where people that see it can help if they want to. But yeah, the funding is going to need to be pushed because right now there is none where there is a huge amount that's needed.
Right. We're going to try to get that reduced. We are.
I just wanted to touch on that Frank said earlier too. He had said that he looks forward to sharing this experience, and I think he worded that very well, not sharing what he found, but the experience of the entire trip, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it's going to be great, you know, get to meet everybody and dig right next to them and save some history and make our mark in Ohio, you know, and to keep that going. It's great all around for the crew, for the town people, for the Historical Society, and Carroll County in general. We have full backing. We have nobody on these crews or you know, the Historical Society, nobody's stepping back and going, whoa, what are you doing? This is a bad idea. Everybody is on board. Everybody's on board. It's getting the funding, you know, and getting that money and grant money to come in to cover this lodging and the costs with the shirts and the meals, you know, to cover those costs. It's all under that part of a contract, and we got to meet that goal. We got to meet that goal.
I know there's there's so much I want to say about it. It's just unreal. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity to be a part of in so many different ways that it's.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many times on different parts of it, I'm just speechless about it all. I do want to give you props on everything you've done in your professionalism and how you're handling everything.
Thank you.
You have been amazing. Jeff Fisher has been amazing and put
Yes,
an
he
amazing
has.
amount of work in this.
He's a god.
I mean, and there are others as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
can see the guy's face that's handling with the shirts ordeal. He's
That's
put a lot of
Danny
work.
Frame. Yeah, Danny, Chris, and Josh, and Jeff. I mean, there's so many to list. Joe and Jen. I mean, there's just so many. And the presentation is gonna take a long time. Thanking you guys. So I gotta write a really good one. I do have some surprises for the crew. I mean, there's surprises going on. You're going to have a good show, a good presentation. We're going to have fun. We're also going to do that ghost hunt. I'm trying to get all of that all locked down there. I think that'd be a great fun thing especially for Howard. He's looking forward to that.
That is going to be amazing as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do want to throw it out that it is a group effort that's going into this. You have done really well in delegating that. However, 90% of this you have taken on yourself, and I want to thank you for that and your hard work in doing so. It is a once in a lifetime event to be a part of. Like I said, there's so many different aspects that make me speechless on it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the history alone of it. I mean, Morgan's Raiders, they started out with a couple thousand troops. By the time they got to this point, which I believe was their last battle in their run, it was 300, just over 300, between 300 and 400 troops that were left at this point, for whatever reason. It's not that they were all killed off during the battles. Some of them left beforehand. But still, I mean, you have such history in this that it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the farthest point north of any battle during the Civil War. That point alone makes it extremely historical, and it's awesome. It's awesome to be included and to be a part of this, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Did anyone have any
more
more
questions for Sam from the external Utah?
Okay, what is it?
Tim Rippin actually just asked if relic recoverist, also known as Jocelyn, will be doing any writing about this.
Yes, Jocelyn is coming. We're trying to work it to where we can have a special edition created because it's such a large project. Lots of people are attending, and I don't think a few pages are going to come close to what we're trying to say. What our goal is here. We would love to get a special edition, and I talked a little bit with Jocelyn and Butch, but it's not. I mean, we don't have a final of yet. This is what you're going to have, and I still need to get with Jocelyn on that, which is also in stage 4. So when I get to that part, I'll handle that. I don't want to try to tackle too much at once. If I try to do stage 3, 4, and 5 at once, it's not going to happen. So that is further down the line. My goal is to have one special edition with the American Diggers magazine.
So you're talking American Diggers. Now, would that be something that you're going to deal with Butch directly on, or are you going to be dealing with Britton Lockhart, who is one of his newest correspondents?
I'm not sure who emailed me directly, but Jocelyn is coming here, and she's going to do the story for them and taking it back. So I'm not sure which one I actually directly emailed. I emailed so many people over different things that it's actually escaping me right now. I'm not sure.
So Jocelyn would be the writer of that piece that would take it to them. Okay.
Photos, story. Yeah, she's going to cover it pretty well.
Not for American Digger Utah. That's for her own thing.
No, that's for American Digger.
That's for American Digger.
That as well.
Yes, that's for.
Yeah, she is an American Digger magazine correspondent.
I did know that, but I wasn't sure if she was doing her own and then American Digger was doing a separate one.
Oh, no, they're sending Jocelyn here to do the story for us.
Excellent.
Was there any other questions from anyone before we give an end cap and say goodnight?
That was it from the external, anyway.
I think Sam answered pretty much everything that I had to ask.
Okay.
Questions were great tonight.
Tar
Yeah.
Hill, were you good to go?
Yeah, good to go, Utah.
Okay. I just want to put it out there that a lot of the people on this crew, they are all amazing diggers for the most part, except for me.
Oh, come on.
They're all amazing
whatever.
diggers in the community. They do have various antics and carrying on that they do in their personal digs. I want it to be known and it be out there that every digger that is in this crew has already made it known that this is a solemn event. This is something that they take to heart and they show the respect for. There is going to be no antics on the field of any carrying on or joking around for that aspect. All respect will be paid before we ever step foot on the field and while we're on the field. And after we leave. We are telling the story of the men that fought and died for their beliefs here. That is known by every member of the crew, and it will be respected by every member of the crew. I just want to throw that out there because it is a solemn occasion. It is hollowed ground that we will be on, and everyone does know that. I don't want anyone thinking, oh, they're going and digging a battleground. Oh, they shouldn't even be on there. Well, this is why we are on there, so it can be designated as a battleground. So it can have that history told. These men have been needing their story told for over 150 years, and it's about time that we tell it. And I want to thank you for putting together the crew and giving us the opportunity to tell that story. It's really great. Again, if anybody out there cannot personally donate to the GoFundMe account, feel free to post that on any of your videos, your chats, your YouTube pages, your Facebook pages. Get the word out. It does need funding, so feel free to spread that as needed. And thank you, Sam, for coming on and talking to us about it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on and doing your thing, moderating the chat and getting the questions in here from them. Thanks everybody in the external for coming out and watching and enjoying the chat with us. If it wasn't for the external, we really wouldn't have a chat. There wouldn't be a need for it. So thank you all for coming out. Frank, Matt, again, as always, thank you guys for being on here.
Always a pleasure.
Your dedication is well noted, and it will be rewarded in time. But thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good one. Until next week, swing low, swing slow, and dig it all.